This an all-out blitz, real hard hits, them other podcast trash, we gon' make them all quit. We cover all the topics with intelligence and logic. I know you wanna score, but ID gon' stop it. We from Texas, so that mean that we Texans. Breaking down the X's and O's, our profession. No complaining, just training, you see the progression. They had a Pro Bowl for talk shows, we get selected. We gon' celebrate every win like a birthday. Ray J with the news, first with all the updates. Spin move on the competition, yeah, we juking them. You not really in touch if you not tuning in. This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown, we not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they bout to stampede.
Hey guys, welcome to the Texans Fan Battle Podcast, brought to you by the Fan Battle Sports Network. Before I introduce my guest and my co-host, let me talk to you about our sponsor today. It is Tomorrow's Retro, made by diehard fans, giving Texans gear the pride you deserve with the retro look of tomorrow's superstars. Get your best looking merch for your Houston Texans. You know, all you gotta do is use the code TFB10 to get 10% off at the store right there, the website. So, guys, make sure you check it off. And now that's over, let me introduce you my guest. Before we got a special guest, I'm kind of fanboy and not lying. So, but before I introduce him, let me introduce my amazing trio. First off, I got my A1 since the A1, Mr. Crenshaw.
What's up? What's up?
And it's been about a year since you've been with us now, huh?
Yeah, so, it's been over a year.
And so our little but big brother, Mr. VT, how's going on, man?
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
And guys, if you're a hardcore football gamer like I am, and you had NFL Quarterback Club 99, you knew this, and you used that quarterback challenge. You used this guy as a cheat code. We got ex-Texan and quarterback Super Bowl champion, Mr. Tony Banks. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing well, fellas. Thanks for the invite, man.
So are you enjoying the season so far?
Man, I would have never expected for CJ Stroud to play so well, but me and my son are big CJ fans. So we're not surprised, but we're rooting for the Texans and Coach Ryans for sure.
All right. Well, let's jump right into it. Some injury updates. Stingley and Charlie Heck are coming back. Tony, as a quarterback, you know, depend on the line. So, is having Charlie Heck a big key coming back from injury?
Well, yeah, no doubt. Anytime you get some security from a young quarterback's perspective, I remember my rookie year with the Rams, we started, I think it was at one point in time, 9 rookies. So 9 out of the 11, every position we had seemed like we were starting rookies. So at that point in time, I thought I didn't need anybody but my strong arm. I got to find out real soon that I needed a lot more than that. So yeah, it's always a blessing when you can have some health and some continuity when it comes to playing that tough position in NFL for sure.
Me and BT, you know, like we said, we got Stingley coming back. How's that help the defense?
So I think it makes a big difference in our cornerback room because actually our corners haven't been the greatest. I've been a big proponent of Shaquille Griffin, and I know Crenshaw's been a big proponent of Steven Nelson. But the issue is that lately they haven't necessarily been on their best game. They're allowing close to 70% of their targets. And so we have some issues with just allowing too many yards to go by. This is a big issue. So Stingley has been a lockdown corner when he played. The problem is he hasn't stayed healthy. So I'd love for him to be available for this Cincinnati game. I don't think he will. I think it'll be 1 or 2 weeks. I think he'll be ready by the Jags game at the latest, potentially Arizona. But I'm really glad to see him come back and hopefully come back and prove me and all the other dudes that are saying that, you know, he's injury prone. Can he actually stay healthy? Can he stay healthy for the rest of the season? I want to see him perform, and I need to see him stay healthy.
And yeah, the number one hater is our boy Crenshaw. So what do you think, Crenshaw? What's your take on it?
No comment on Stingley. Next question.
Really? Wow.
All right. Well,
That's what y'all do on this show, man. Y'all just let a dude just say no comment. What you scared of? What you scared of, man? What you scared of your answer? Like you afraid you're gonna get outed or what? You gonna get canceled?
What it is, because I told the group chat I ain't gonna say nothing negative about Stingley for the rest of the year, so I'm trying to keep my word. That's all.
Mr. Tony Banks has called you out to say something. I think you have to break that just a little bit.
Okay,
when Mr. Tony Banks tells you.
All right, well, cool. Fuck it, I'm gonna say something. I'm glad he back. Because we need as much help as we could get right now because we got a lot of injuries on the secondary. I just hope he stays healthy. I really hope he stays healthy, man. Like, prove me wrong, prove everybody else wrong. That's saying negative things about him and everything. But like VT said, he's not gonna play this Sunday. But when he come back, just be out there, bro. Because goddamn, I mean, I be forgetting you on the team sometimes.
Well, the number one skill is availability.
Exactly.
I feel you.
That's what I've been saying.
But this is not, Major League Baseball, which I dabbled in that too. I was a hooper too. So, football's different. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is really healthy at this time of year. It's just a matter if you can be available. So I definitely feel you got to be on the field. That's first and foremost. But you also got to understand that, these are real bodies, banging. And, as much as the NFL has changed from my day, which doesn't seem like that long ago, but it's definitely changed a lot. Like these guys go through it, man. These bodies go through it. I'm still feeling it, 2 decades later. So it's what it is.
Oh, I bet, especially a little bit more brutal back in your day. So I can only imagine the pain. Like you said, it's a brutal sport, and just because people think you have shoulder pads and a helmet like that, you're protected. I've spoke with rugby players that said they rather play rugby than play football because you're constantly hitting each other. And he said those protective gear, really don't help. I mean, if you take a helmet to the chest, it's going to hurt for a couple of days. So yeah.
Well, that's why the NFL is taking on the whole rugby tackling whole situation. You're trying to take your head out the tackling situation, like. In my day, now, granted, I threw enough interceptions, so I had to learn how to tackle to where, so back in my day, you had to get your head in front. So your head had to stop the momentum of the ball carrier. Now the head is in back like rugby. So, the whole Seahawk tackling kind of the way they did it, which is, if you got Cam Chancellor and Sherman and, all these studs, they're going to tackle anybody no matter how you ask them to tackle them. But, now the game has changed to where the head is in back and you have to basically wrestle guys down, just like rugby. So I respect those rugby guys, man, for sure.
I'm not taking nothing grand from them. I mean, that's still a brutal sport as well. But just the when you reach the level like you did, Tony, they're different beasts, right? Like they're the best of the best of the best. So I couldn't imagine getting hit people like Aaron Donald and JJ Watt every day. Like I'd probably quit the first day. Like I'm good, man. Like no, I'm not gonna do that. So
I go back to the Reggie White days, man.
Oh, exactly.
By Reggie White,
John Randall, like I mean,
for sure,
right?
For
Warren
sure.
Sapp. I mean, the list can go on. So, but going back to injuries, there's a couple more. Steven Nelson, Brevin Jordan, Will Anderson, Lermy Tunzel, a couple more players that did not practice today. Tony, some people practice taking the day off because they're just nursing a little injury. Should the Texan fans be worried about all these people not practicing or on limited practice?
I'll tell you what, nobody wants to see Will Anderson or Tunsil being injured because those are two cogs of both sides of the line of scrimmage. And you talk about the best teams in the league when it comes to whether you're talking about the Eagles or the Niners or, even the Cowboys to some extent out here where I am, like they control the line of scrimmage. So anytime you can have those guys healthy, you have a better chance of winning, especially with a young quarterback. Like the fact that, CJ doesn't throw the ball to the other team is a great part of your offense, but that also alludes to the fact that he's got good protection from time to time. He's got young guys getting open. Like there's just a synergy to, especially the offensive passing game, where guys got to be where they're supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be there. And, you need to have protection. For a guy like CJ, my son's he just switched to receiver this year, but he's been a quarterback his whole life. And we follow quarterbacks as a family, especially, I ain't gonna lie. I grew up, rooting for black quarterbacks. So I'm very pro-black quarterback. Not like I don't root for other guys. My favorite quarterback of all time probably is Brett Favre, but I root for guys like CJ. I root for Bryce Young. I root for Lamar Jackson. I root for these guys because, I see how far that position has come. Like when I was playing, black quarterbacks we were so physically gifted. We didn't work at the small things. So to see guys like CJ, Russell Wilson, and Bryce Young that really they take advantage of the small things like studying and staying there late. Like I'm just saying, we didn't do that. Like a lot of black quarterbacks in my day, we didn't do that because things came really easy to us. We could throw the ball further than most guys. We could, we were more mobile. So just visually, it seemed like we didn't have to work at those small things. So I really appreciate this younger generation, really taking advantage of the fact that, there's so much more to the position than just being physically gifted. So I'm a big fan of these guys, and CJ is one of those guys. It doesn't surprise me that he's had so much success. I thought Bryce Young would have some more success too, but it goes to show you that at that position, you need so much more than just being able to throw a pretty spiral.
For real. Crenshaw, what do you think about the injury? The people who are practicing.
I mean, it's a big deal, but if they don't practice on Friday, then I'd be a little bit more concerned and everything. So right now, I'm just gonna take it, day by day, as they say in baseball. And Tony, I like what you said about with the pro black and everything. I'm with you as well. I root for my black quarterbacks and everything because it's always about skill and they say that we don't study film as much and everything. So I like what you said right there. So that was a good take.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you guys. BT, what about you?
So there's certain injuries that I think are more worrisome than others. Obviously, we just talked about needing better cornerback help, but Steven Nelson has been a big part of a quarterback room, and he's hurt. He has a neck and back injury, so we're short there. So we're going to have an issue. They have just brought up Grayland Arnold for safety. We have 3 safety injuries. Jimmy Ward is out. So Jimmy Ward, as well as MJ Stewart and Eric Murray. That's 3 safeties. We'll bring in Grayland Arnold, so he's have to play there. We're likely going to have to, if Steven Nelson doesn't play another corner. We're already missing Stingley, so we're on our second corner there as well. So really the only starter in our second year, really Tevier Thomas and Jalen Petrie. So that's going to be a struggle going against the Bengals. Blake Cashman has been our best linebacker, and he didn't practice because of a wrist injury. So that's going to be a problem. Andrew Beck, obviously our only fullback that we really use, except for the preseason, he's also been used as a tight end. Now, the thing is, we really don't have a lot of tight ends healthy. Dalton Schultz has been our tight end 1. Brevin Jordan is hurt. TQ is hurt. We brought in another tight end, but he's basically a body at that point. So that's an issue. Denzel Perryman has been our best Mike linebacker. We saw Henry To'oTo'o not be able to cover the tight end for Tampa and almost cost us the game. So him being out is an issue. So there are some really concerning issues there. I do have hope that some of these guys will practice tomorrow, and so if they don't, that's really something that we'll talk more about on Sunday after the game. But I do hope that some of these guys come back. I wanted to address what Tony Banks said as well. One of the things that CJ Stroud is being praised for is the fact that he is a student of the game. Not only is he just amazing in terms of his accuracy, but he actually spends a lot of time studying film, so much so that Tank Dell was asked about this on The Athletic during a podcast, and he was asked why CJ Stroud has been performing so well. 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, one of the best rookie quarterback performances we've ever seen in NFL history. And he said one of the reasons that CJ has been this good is because he prepares. They have a group chat where they have wide receivers, tight ends, all the receivers in the group chat. And even if it's 11 p.m., CJ will send them clips of videos and say, if we see this look, this is how we're going to modify the route. So he's already taking care of things that honestly are a vet is really what literally this happens, like a vet. This guy is 9 games in, acting like a fifth-year veteran quarterback. So, when they said, oh, this guy, and excuse my language, but I got to say it, right? Because I feel like some of the stuff that CJ, some of the shit that he got during the offseason, in my opinion, was a bit racist, right? You're calling a black quarterback basically dumb and because he failed an S2 test. The hell cares about an S2 test? This dude can play ball. Then they try to throw in the fact that his father is in prison and they use that against him. And so they kind of combined like the black quarterback that failed a test and his father's in prison as almost holding him back, right? And I feel like they did that. I feel like a lot of it was racist. I feel some of it was ignorance, but I feel like it's just accepted. So I'm glad that he was able to basically give the middle finger to everyone that doubted him and say, I don't care about a test. I understand that I had to face hardships in my personal life, but I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I'm only 9 games in the season. Watch this.
Well said, VT. Well said. And also, what that mean as well, sending them clips at 11 o'clock at night, he must not get no pee. So,
Well,
I'll be one to tell you that if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL, you don't have no issues with that. But he is a strong Christian kid, so I hope he's
that's what I'm saying. He's Christian kid. So
yeah. He's got those issues under control. My best year in the NFL is when I got saved. So I fell prey after that. Once I had some success, I went back to some old habits. But I so appreciate, me being in Houston. David Carr was just such a strong Christian kid, and I had just got saved a couple years before. So I do understand that those moments of faith can definitely help you play that position. Because I tell you, there's nothing like playing quarterback in the NFL. I don't care if you're a point guard in the NBA, if you're a major league pitcher, shortstop in the MLB, there's nothing like being an NFL quarterback, an NFL starting quarterback. There's nothing like it. So you don't have a lot to go off. You don't have a lot of people to confide in other than other quarterbacks that have dealt with some of the similar things. So again, me and my family are big CJ Stroud fans, obviously.
VT, I'm glad you brought that up, and I kind of want to get your opinion on too, Mr. Banks. I don't know if you saw the press conference afterwards where he spoke about his father's conditions in jail, how they are horrible, and that no human being should be going through that. But he did say that yes, he committed a crime, and he should be pretty much saying do the crime, do the time. But now he's getting a backlash because people are saying that he is only speaking out now because he's a famous football player. It makes me dumbfounded how you can, because now that he had a platform, he's speaking about it. It's because he's famous. I mean, what was it? I mean, if it was Tom Brady, would it be the same thing? Like, I'm not seeing it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, so look, there are discrepancies and differences in all our upbringings and all that. CJ Stroud has been a famous football player for a few years now. This is not the first year he's a famous football player. He's been balling out in the Big Ten for years now, right? He, sending guys who transfer in over to Ohio State, sending them out of there because they're like, hey, we can't compete with this guy. We out of here. So similar like Justin Fields and Joe Burrow. Like Joe Burrow understood, hey, I can't beat this guy out. I'm out here. Like these are situations that are physically morphed into other situations. Like, so my point is, when I say all that, like when I was a young quarterback growing up, granted it was a long time ago, like I'm old as all get out, but like I did not grow up wanting to be, like I can't remember like dreaming about being a Super Bowl champion. Like I I remember people telling me, family, friends, you need to change positions. You're not going to be a college quarterback. Then when I became a college player, you're not going to be a top draft pick. Then when I became that, you're not going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So these are things I dealt with. I'm not saying CJ Stroud or any of these young quarterbacks, no matter what their race is, have dealt with this. But my point is that like a guy like Tom Brady didn't grow up thinking about, hey, I'm just trying to get into the league. People tell me I can't do it. I just want to be a starter. Like he dreamed about championships. So when I reflect back on my career and some of like my issues are some of the same issues that some of my buddies have had playing the position growing up, that you want to dispel all these like doubts. So when I became a starting quarterback in the NFL, it was almost like I arrived, like whereas Tom Brady, I guarantee you that him and Peyton Manning, they dreamed about championships. They didn't dream about throwing a pretty spiral on Monday night or being a starter where people said they couldn't. So we all have these different roads that we pave when it comes to playing that position. That position, like I said, is like no other position in all the sports. Mm-hmm. So you need some things to go your way, right? So CJ Stroud has been able to see quarterbacks way beyond me, believe me, that have taken the preparation seriously. Me, when I came into the league, I was compared to Randall Cunningham, which I thought was awesome. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks as I was blossoming into a high school, college quarterback. But then as I got into the league, I was like, man, I can't move like him. Like, why they compare me to that guy? Right. But I also had other aspects. I was able to read coverage. I played for Nick Saban my senior year. I was able to be able to take his NFL offense, and I wasn't dumbfounded when I got into the NFL. So there are stages that it takes to play this position really well. So that's what I mean when I'm like a fan of guys. Like I appreciate the struggle. I appreciate like that these guys have taken preparation to a whole nother level. Like when Peyton Manning came into the league, like I was like, the dude can't even throw a spiral. Why are we celebrating this guy? Like people say it wasn't until his neck injury that he was throwing ducks. No, he's been throwing ducks his whole life, but his anticipation and his preparation was what separated him. And it took me years to figure that out. I was like, man, my arm's stronger. I'm a better athlete. I got to be just as smart as this guy. Why is my career not going? I remember, so I'm rambling a little bit. So I tell people about my first Peyton Manning story. So I was the first quarterback drafted the year I came out, and Peyton Manning came out 2 years later. Obviously, he was the number one pick in the draft. And my St. Louis Rams team goes to scrimmage him in their Indianapolis Colts his rookie year. And I'm just like, man, I'm about to show everybody out here that this dude, he don't even throw a spiral. He don't even strong arm. Like, this dude is a bum. Like, in my mind, this is my young mind. Like, this is what I'm saying to myself. And he comes over to me, oh, Mr. Banks, it's an honor to meet you. This Southern charm and all that, So then I got to, actually like the guy. Like, I wanted to hate the guy, but he understood that there are limitations to his game. So this is what I'm saying about playing the position. There's a reason that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, these are guys that are not the most physically gifted guys on the planet, but they understand their limitations. Right? So you play the position better. You play down and distance better. You play situational better. Like to a guy like Lamar Jackson is figuring it out, I ain't gonna lie. But to an athletic quarterback, it's hard for a play to be over. It's hard to throw the ball away. It's hard to slide. Like it took me 3 years in the NFL before I even thought about running out of bounds. Like I thought I was physically better than everybody. Like it takes time.
Now you wish you did slide, huh, and run out of bounds.
No doubt. I'm dealing with some stuff now for sure. But this, this is guys like CJ Stroud and Russell Wilson and Bryce Young and these guys, they really understand. They understand how to play the position, and that is so much more than having a strong arm or, being able to run a 4.4 or being 6'5", because you talk about most of those guys, they don't have any of those attributes. They understand the position and they understand what it takes. Whereas, a guy like me, I didn't,
Hey, respect. Well, we keep talking about CJ. Let's jump about to Sunday's game.
This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they about to stampede.
So we walked off with the victory 39-37. Tony, you said you're a fan of CJ, so you probably watched the game, especially after the kicker, Kerry Fairbairn, went out and they had the backup running back. You kind of thought the game was over, huh?
That was awesome. I can see why, the team celebrated, the kid being able to, kick off and get get a touchback, and I could see that because the special teams is so much different in the practice than offense and defense. They're it's barely incorporated into a practice. It's a 30-minute period in a 2.5-hour practice. So I was never really great friends with kickers and punters, and because their practice schedule is different. Like some of those guys wouldn't play golf while we practice. It was just different. So I appreciate the whole team aspect of really being able to celebrate a guy to be able to contribute to a position like that he's not normally known for doing. Man, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, most out. Crenshaw, what was your takes on the game, especially like Tony said, the Dari coming in and kicking field goals?
I like how he just kicked in and ran off the field like he does this every day, But I got a quick question for all of y'all. If Dameon Pierce would have played, would Dare would have been active to make that kick?
Yeah, he's been active every single time because he's been on special teams. He's been active even when Dameon Pierce has been active.
Okay, that's interesting. But it's just the game itself was a great game, amazing game. I understand the fans leaving when they got their last touchdown because they're not used to the Texans doing what CJ did. They're used to other teams doing that. So I get that. So I'm not gonna shit on the fans for walking out, but the ones that did walk out, they missed the treat. Like how the pastor say. How the pastor say, if you miss it, you miss a treat. So it just, I was there, my son and I, and we was just jumping. We was high fiving, man. It was great. I almost shed a tear, man. I was so ecstatic when we did the post show with VT, man. I was like, man, goodness, this guy is really him, as they say. That he's really, really him. And just keep up the good work, CJ. Whatever you're doing, keep doing that shit.
And VT, we had 3 top 5 of the top 5 receivers with the most receiving yards this week. So what was your take on the game?
So we've talked a lot about CJ Stroud, and I could talk about him for probably 6 more hours. But what I want to also say is not only is CJ Stroud showing up, but look at Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown, who had career days, as you just have up there. Like these are some dudes that we really didn't know if they were going to work out here. I had some questions about Noah Brown. Shame on me.
Right. So some of us thought he wasn't even going to make the team, right?
Correct. Because listen, you're in the NFL for 5-6 years and you haven't had a significant game, and he has a career game, with CJ Stroud. Now, I am not going to minimize what these receivers are doing, obviously, but that I have to bring this back to CJ Stroud being able to elevate receivers as well. It's a two-way street. The receivers are getting open and he's throwing a dot. So the thing is, the relationship that he has with the team goes above and beyond just his talent. Tank Dell also said that he basically views CJ Stroud as one of his best friends at this point. This isn't just, I think, a relationship that, you're good with the wide receiver. I really think he has an actual personal relationship with them. We didn't talk about this earlier, but he doesn't just have a relationship with his receivers. He has a relationship with his quarterback room. They actually said that Case Keenum and Davis Mills has a good relationship with CJ Stroud. They said that Case Keenum is basically like the bad cop, right? If there's in the meeting, if there's a play that they don't like, that he doesn't like, he gives Case Keenum a look like, "Yo, dude, help me out." And Case Keenum said, "Hey, we got to change this up." All three of them have dinner on Friday nights. CJ Stroud said he's like the fifth wheel because you have Davis Mills and his wife, you have Case Keenum and his wife, and CJ Stroud just hanging out all together having dinner. So I think that he's forming bonds with the rest of the team, and it's showing up on the field. That's crazy important. You can't fake that, you know. So what we're witnessing right now is a complete and utter change to everything that we have seen for a very long time for the Houston Texans. And it's showing up on the field. The fact that you had 46 seconds left, you had no kicker, you had 6 dudes leave in injury, and we still got to win. And that's after the defense, honestly, the defense did not show up in this game as they should. We had them at 23rd and 3rd down, and we let them convert. Henry To'oTo'o let the tight end Auden get that touchdown. Auden was burning him all game long. But CJ Stroud came back and the offense took care of business. And another relationship issue between him and Jonathan Gennard. Before, Jonathan Gennard was like, "We'll bail you out." You know, like, so the offense wasn't able to put up points. Jonathan Gennard's like, "We'll bail you out." This time, CJ's told Jonathan Gennard, "We'll bail you out." That's a team atmosphere. The offense helping the defense helping the offense. I can't say anymore. I've never been happier to be a Texans fan.
Yeah, and Tony, maybe you can help me speak on this, but just the poise of CJ Stroud, like we said, down 46 seconds. And it wasn't like Tampa Bay wasn't sending the rush. Like, they were sending everybody and their mama at him. And he sat there calm, cool, collected, finding the right guys, to make the plays, calling the right timeouts, to go down there and score a touchdown. I mean, that's pretty – that for a rookie, that's kind of hard to do, right, Tony? I mean, it's no easy – I mean, it's hard to do as a vet, right? Like, I mean, can you kind of elaborate on the poise of CJ Stroud?
Well, I'll tell you what, that whole situation was like first off, playing quarterback today, there's some gimme throws that we didn't have back in the day. So right. I'm not criticizing what like we were judged at to where CJ Stroud is judged at, but I think we need to really talk a little bit about the culture that the Texans have now. DeMeco Ryans has established a culture with that franchise. Like if you think about what's going on with the Raiders, right? Like Antonio Pierce is a former linebacker. I played with Antonio in Washington. He was a practice squad guy. People are making a big deal about he's changing the rules and, practice squad guys are being on the sideline. Like he was that guy. And then he blossomed into a really good player that contributed on Super Bowl winning teams. So that's the culture that he's trying to inspire there with the Raiders. Same with Coach Ryans with the Texans. Like, he's trying to establish a culture to where there is some accountability, and he's also given CJ, they named him the starter pretty early on, not as early as Bryce Young, but they named him the starter pretty early on. So he was able to make these relationships and blossom with these relationships. Like, I remember when I was with the Texans, the first 4 years of their conception, like David Carr was, the first draft of the franchise, right? And that was my first time being a backup quarterback in the NFL. I'd always been a starter, and I could not at the time been a backup quarterback to anybody other than David. David was just a great kid. He was a great family dude. He had been married since he was 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? Right. So he didn't look at cheerleaders, things that me being a young married dude at the time, I took things from that young dude that I've taken into my life way past football, right? And I hope that some of the things I taught him, he took into life too. Like, you talk about that great quarterback room. It's so important. There's no other position in the NFL that is as intimate as a quarterback room. You got 2-3 guys at the best, and you got a coach. You probably got 3 coaches if you got 3 quarterbacks. Like, it's a room that's really intimate. It's small. You're talking so much. You walk into the running back room and the receiver room, you go at the wrong time. Them dudes are in their sleep. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different position. It's a different room. So the fact that you got a guy like Case Keenum, like, this is what I wish I would have been better for David at the time when I played with David, because David was a people pleaser. Like, if the offense coordinator gave him the game plan for the week, he's like, I like it all, coach. It's all good. It's great, right? Knowing that when he went out there to practice, some things you could tell he wasn't comfortable with. But he would just, oh, it's great, coach. It's a great game plan. Every play is great. Call whatever you want. Whereas you just said, like, a guy like Case Keenum is like, hey, maybe he ain't ready for that. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Let me talk to CJ. Like, that's the relationship you need in that room for that room to blossom, right?
Yeah.
And every team does not have that, man. I promise you. Like, my rookie year, they signed Steve Walsh to this big contract. I was the first quarterback drafted, but I was a 2nd-round pick, so I was supposed to be groomed and a year or 2 away from. But I played better than him in the preseason and early on, so I ended up getting the job as a rookie. But me and Steve Walsh did not get along. Like, he badmouthed me to, veterans that he thought supported him. Like, there was just this tug of war where me as a young kid, I was like, this guy is fucking awful. I hate this dude,
Right.
So it was not only is it NFL, because NFL is always going to be player versus management. This is not NBA. This is not MLB. This is not a cohesive deal. Like, management is always trying to replace you in the NFL because there's this injury deal always lingering. Like, this guy could get hurt. Like, it's a real deal. Like, people say, why doesn't NFL guys get, guaranteed contracts? There's a reason. There's a physical reason, right? I wish it wasn't that way, but it's a real deal. If I'm a owner of a team or I'm a general manager of a team, this is a real deal. I have to acknowledge that if I give this guy guaranteed money, he might miss the next year or 2, depending on what type of injury, right? This is a real issue. So my point is, the fact that the Texans have this quarterback room, the most important position in the NFL, that is cohesive, that is loving. I hate to use that word, but I'm a dad, I'm a single dad, I don't mind using that word from time to time, so the fact that you can have that is such an advantage. It's such a huge advantage.
Yes. Yeah. Like these comments are saying, I mean, the insight, you normally don't hear it, right? So we appreciate that 110%, Tony. Well, let's jump into one of the reasons why we're here. Let's jump into the Bengals game preview. Tony, you went up against great quarterbacks like Joe Burrow. So what is the key for the Texans to beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals this week?
Well, just beating any quarterback, man. You need to get him off time, right? You need to get pressure in his face. Joe Burrow has shown a propensity to get sacked, which, if you get guys in 3rd and long, the percentages say that you're going to win that series, right? So that's what you got to do first and foremost. And you got to be able to a team like the Texans can never lose the war of field position, right? You can't put CJ. I remember my first snap in the NFL was on the -1 yard line. I ended up taking the safety versus Brian Young and, all those 49ers, at the time.
Yeah.
So,
Man,
that's my first NFL snap. Yeah, that's my first NFL snap on like the 1-inch line. And it didn't go well. So you gotta avoid those situations with a young quarterback. But the fortunate thing is that, again, we're talking about CJ, but just the quarterback position, like, that position has so much to do with confidence. Like, if you have success, you will believe success is going to happen on the next play. If you're a young quarterback and you don't have success, you're wondering, what's the next play going to have for me? Is it going to be an interception? Is it going to be a loss if I hand the ball off? Like these are real situations of an NFL quarterback. And when you have success the way CJ has, you can't help but think that the next play is going to be positive, that I'm going to make the play to win the game. And that's what happened last week, man. That's what's so beautiful about what's going on with the Texans right now.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, right? I mean, exactly that. Everybody counted them out, and you just said it. CJ Stroud took the game and won it. BT, what's your thoughts on it?
First of all, I just want to remind everyone that CJ Stroud's first pass was a reception to himself. So he also had an awkward start to his NFL career.
Steve Young happened the same thing with Steve Young. I just watched his documentary not too long ago saying his first pass was to himself too, I think.
So getting back to the Bengals game preview. So we talked a lot about the Texans injuries, and obviously I'm never praying for injuries. I don't care if it's an opponent, divisional opponent or not, but obviously it's football, so you got to talk about the matchups. Jamar Chase did not practice today. T. Higgins did not actually hurt himself at practice. So that is something to note because we've talked about the cornerback room and Steven Nelson may not play. So that's going to be important because we have not been able to stop good receivers.
Well, plus you don't want no excuses, right? Like you don't want these NFL analysts and these guys saying, oh, well, the Texans just won because Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were out. No, if we win this game, we want everybody healthy, everybody playing. So that way, no, we beat the Bengals. We beat an AFC champion. So put some respect on the Texans name. So honestly, I agree.
Even if they say that, I say F you because we're so injured that I don't care what they say about, right, of the Bengals having a few injuries. I mean, we literally have – how many names did we just read off? Like 15? I honestly, I'm going to say I can't even count that high. There's too many freaking injuries on our side for anyone to say that that we only won because the Bengals have one or two receivers out. But some things of note. How can we win this game? What are the issues going into this game? I just mentioned our defense has not been have been outstanding, right? A lot of people thought, including myself, that we would have the top 5 secondary because we thought we would have Derek Stingley and Steven Nelson both playing at elite levels there. We would have Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie, but we've had injuries with Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie, and Ward is injured now again. We had Tavir Thomas, who's been out for a while. He's back. So our secondary has been had a lot of injuries. So that's why, they haven't been as good. We're also playing a lot of zone defense. Why we're playing a lot of zone defense? Well, one of the reasons is because our corners aren't necessarily being where they are at. Perhaps we should play a little more man. Maybe that's on D'Amico. But at the same time, how can you do that when you don't have the backup? You don't have the safeties to back it up. If you don't have Ward there, you really can't do that. So something to note is that right now our defense has not been successful, and Burrow has put up over 100 passer rating in his 3 of his last 4 games. In the beginning, he had a calf muscle injury, and so he hasn't been playing well. But as you see on the screen, he lit up the Bills secondary with 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, 108.9 passer rating. Guy's obviously back to being where he was. Now look at us. We gave up 265 yards to Baker Mayfield, someone who we don't necessarily consider a top 10 quarterback, but we gave up 265 yards to him. Overall, we're giving up a 94 passer rating, 2 quarterbacks in the season. All in all, we're just not doing good in our secondary. We're giving up too many yards. Why am I keep saying this? Well, because I think that this is going to be the only way we win this game, honestly, is have a repeat of Tampa Bay of the second half, meaning you got to air this motherfucker out. You got to give the ball to CJ. I mean, I'm a big proponent of the run game. You know that. I've been preaching it for how long? But the bottom line is that we can't stop his offense. I don't care if it's just the tight ends. We actually are horrible on stopping tight ends because you put Henry To'oTo'o in that position a lot of times. And he loves using his tight ends. He used 3 tight ends last time. And so he's going to use his tight ends again. I don't care if Jamar Chase is out. I don't care if T. Higgins is out. He's going to find a way to get the ball through the air to his receivers. So that's going to be a problem. How do we defeat them? CJ has to hit our receivers, and he's got to put up more than 30 points. This is going to be another situation where there's 30 points on either side. So without going on a diatribe, I'll let everyone else continue the discussion. But the bottom line for me is defense isn't going to win us this game. This game is going to be won by the offense.
Kershaw, you agree?
Yes, I do agree. It's going to be won by the offense. And no, VT, I mean, the cornerbacks isn't doing that bad. I mean, think about it. Take off the Mike Evans 53-yard pass that he caught. They're going to give up 198 yards passing. So they're not doing as bad as you saying they are. But
We are 31 of 32 in completions for the last 3 games. We're literally almost the worst team in the NFL by giving up as many completions. 31 of 32, Crenshaw.
Zone coverage.
okay, yes, we 31 or 32, but the reason why we lost one of those last 3 games was because of offense, not defense.
I mean,
Correct.
that doesn't change the stat of the quarters giving up too many catches.
I mean, they're not gonna be perfect though, VT. You're not gonna be perfect because those guys aren't
31
locked.
of 32.
I get it, but they aren't locked down cornerbacks. But okay, anyways, okay, just like I've been preaching the last couple of weeks, pass that bitch. Keep passing the ball on first, second down. Yeah. There you go. First, second down, pass the ball. I know we're trying to establish a run, but we just can't do it. I know the Bengals not good against the run, but we just can't do it. Just keep passing the ball. Trying to keep Burrow off the field on third downs, which as VT said, we haven't been good at. And hopefully the Ohio State fans will back up CJ, and we'll come out with a W.
All right. Well, let's jump to the prediction.
Hey, can I
Go ahead,
jump in on that? Odell?
Absolutely.
So I agree with everything you guys are saying, right? Obviously the Texans offense is better when CJ has the ball in his hands, but so I'm gonna debate that just a little bit by saying, so I was no CJ Stroud, right? I was I was a second round pick, first quarterback drafted in the year I came out. Every time people talk about a terrible draft as far as quarterbacks go, my name comes up, right? So I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but the best friend to a young quarterback, or to any quarterback really, is a run game. So I'm gonna feed you with this stat. So I started, I think, something like 80 games in the NFL. So when I had a 100-yard rusher, I only lost 1 game in my whole career, right? And I'm going to tell you that 1 game I lost, that 100-yard rusher, Stephen Davis, when I played for the Redskins, who I love Stephen Davis, he fumbled when we were in the 4-minute offense trying to run the air out the ball. He fumbled, and Dallas kicked the winning field goal. We were winning that game. That game was won. So my point is that as much as we want to say CJ is the answer and he's playing well, like, to beat good teams, you don't need to actually run the ball for 150 yards. You need the threat of the run, right? You need to be able to put that ball in the belly of the running back and those linebackers to be able to be like salivating, right? I'm going to make it TFL. And then you hit them behind the head with play action. Like, this is what football's about. I don't care if you talk about when I played or today's game and the whole horizontal game that they're playing today with all the bubble screens, which to me, if you complete a pass behind the line of scrimmage, it should be counted as a run. I'm tired of all these guys throwing for 900 yards a game and they barely throwing the ball across the line of scrimmage. but that's a whole nother issue. My point is that to beat good teams with a young quarterback and a defense that's figuring it out like the Texans, you need the threat of the run. You need to be able to put that ball in the belly and pull it out and be able to create separation between the second and third level of the defense, which is what the Texans have done when they've won. They haven't relied on just, straight drop back and CJ Reed getting through his progression. They haven't relied just on that. Like, they've really done a good job of balance and being able to have the threat of the run. And a guy like Dameon Pierce, when he's healthy, provides that threat.
Okay. Well, now that you said that, if you have, I don't know if you do it. If you don't want to, that's fine. If you have to give a game prediction, what is the score of this game?
I'll tell you what, man, Burrow, he got some swag that I really like at that position. And I do believe the Bengals right now are a better team and they're playing better. So, I think the Bengals have the advantage in this game, But anytime you're coming off a game like CJ Stroud just had and that offense just had and Tank Dell and all these guys, like they believe in these guys. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think the Bengals are a better team.
Okay. Mr. VT.
Yeah, I'll give you my prediction. I just want to address really quickly what Tony Banks said about the run game. And I completely agree with you. I think when you don't have the threat of a run game, they can drop 8 in coverage every single time. And you basically, he's going to have to throw it away when no one's open, especially when you put that many people in coverage. So I do understand that's an issue. I think that the Bengals now have to respect the threat of the pass, which means they won't be able to just drop 8 in coverage, which means we may see a little more of the run game in use. I'm not saying that we'll see heavy usage, but I agree that we should have the threat of the run in there. I think that Dameon Pierce is still out, I believe. I don't think he's going to play this game, but Singletary should be able to get a couple yards. He was not really able to really land anything last game. But that's really on the run blocking. The run blocking has been pretty awful, frankly, one of the worst in the NFL, just from a run blocking perspective. So I'm not saying that we'll have 100 yards on the ground. We could, but what I will say is that I agree with you on we have to have the threat of the run, or if they don't, they'll just drop in coverage, and that'll just make CG's game even harder. Getting back to the predictions now. It is going to be a high-scoring game. That's what I think. I think it's going to be something around 34-31 Texans. Yeah, I'm saying Texans. And why am I saying Texans? Is because we've seen when this team is prepared, when this team actually can actually get CJ on his A game, how he can succeed. The first half, he was not playing well. In all reality, CJ did not have a good game in his first half. His second half was absurd. It was insane. So I think that if you can keep CJ consistent, and I think if you can get him into a rhythm, and I think that's how you win. Like I said, so Jamar Barnes says 31-17. I don't think it's going to be that. I think we'll score more points. And what I don't want to see Bobby do is I don't want to see him force anything. Getting a balanced offense is fine, but don't force the run, but get a balanced offense in there. High scoring, 34-31 Texans. CJ Stroud has another 300-yard game.
Oh, wow. Okay. Crenshaw.
Well, 2015, we went up to Cincinnati. They was a hot team. They was 8-0. Right now, they're a hot team. They 4-0. We was underdogs, and we beat them then, and I think we beat them this Sunday. And it was week 10 as well, so the similarities is crazy. I say we win 34-24.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
Well, the only way we do have an advantage, right? The Bengals just played a tough game against the Bills Sunday night, and then after us, they play the Ravens on Thursday, so they got a short rest, a short period to get ready. So they might overlook us. I know that might not happen, but who knows? That might be a possibility, but I'm going to go with the Texans win. I'm going to go 28-27, nail biter. So, yeah, hopefully that's true.
The only people that say teams overlook other teams are
fans.
Media guys. Right?
Yeah, fans, right. Yeah. That's what I said. I knew you were going to call me out on it, but hey,
it's so hard. It's so hard to win in that league, man. I don't remember. I've been on a lot of bad teams, and I don't remember. And I, one good team, so I don't remember overlooking anybody. But it does happen. There's a chance that maybe one guy, brings a lady into the hotel, late at night or something, or has one too many drinks Friday night.
Mr. Antonio
those
Brown.
Chances like this is where the advantages lie. I know on teams that we were not very good, it was habits. It wasn't like most of the talent is so even. Like you got a quarterback, you got an Aaron Rodgers, you got a chance to win. I don't care who's on your roster. But most teams don't have that guy. Most of the time when you lose, looking back on my career, it's habits. It's guys that just couldn't, they couldn't rein in their habits, right? They were staying out too late on Friday. They, one or two drinks on Friday night is going to affect you on Sunday afternoon. Like, so sometimes when I see guys cramping up, especially early in the season, I'm like, oh, this dude, he been out too much. Like it's from my experience, and it's not always right. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, most of the difference in winning and losing is culture and habits, and obviously quarterback. Like, if you got one of those top 5 guys, you got a chance. But everybody else, you got 25 teams that don't have those top 5 guys.
Right.
Mhm.
That the difference in winning is so minuscule, man. It's so minuscule.
Right.
That one game or that one play when you cramping up, when the other guy on the other side ain't cramping up, that's gonna win you games.
Tony, I just said that just to give us fans hope. I mean, I get players like you. Y'all don't believe in that, just overlooking teams and the whole theory that, oh, we suck this year, let's tank. I know players don't have that mindset of, yeah, we suck, so we're going to tank this year. We're not going to give us all. I mean, I played college baseball, high school football. We never gave up. Like, we always. It doesn't matter how. If you're down by 17, down by 3, you're going to play the same no matter what. So I totally understand that. But hey, as a fan, I hope they do, but I know they're not. So well, before we wrap up the show, let's do a little segment called "Who is Tony Banks?" We're going to ask you a couple of questions. Chris, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay. All right. I know earlier you were saying you play more than one sport. So when you went to what is it? I think you went to Hoover High. Yeah, when you went to Hoover High, what which sport was you better at? Baseball, basketball, or football? And I have a follow-up question after you answer this.
I didn't play football till my junior in high school, so I was a basketball guy. So yeah.
Okay.
Baseball's a sport.
Okay.
Baseball was the easiest. I thought that was the easiest, for real. Yeah.
Well, that's what CJ said earlier today. It was one game. I think you was with the Rams. What happened with that fight you had? I think it was like number 90 against the Bears. Like what happened, bro? Like what happened?
Alonzo Spellman, man, that's a
Yeah.
crazy dude, man. You better look that dude up. That dude is a monster. I was, I grew up in the gangster rap age. I'm from, Southeast San Diego, down by the border. I thought I was a little thug growing up, and so when Alonzo Spellman pushed me, like would seem like minutes after the play, I just turned around, and started swinging. I thought I was a tough guy. And then I was like, uh-oh, that's Alonzo Spellman. Like, I probably shouldn't be swinging at this dude.
Oh, no.
What a story. What a story. I think Alonzo came in and grabbed him.
Right.
It's like, you can't say this shit.
Well, guys, while we wait for Mr. Banks to hopefully come back on, let me tell you about our sponsorship. This episode is sponsored by Tomorrow's Retro, made by diehard fans, giving Texans gear with the pride you deserve, with the retro look of tomorrow's superstars. Get the best looking merch for your Houston Texans. Use code TFB10 to save 10% on the website, and I will pop that up right about now. Oh, well, if I'm like Tony Banks, I have a little technical difficulties. There you go. If you check that out, get 10% on some good T-shirts. So yeah, make sure you use our code TFB10 to get 10% off. Some great quality stuff. So check it out. Hopefully, that's the good thing about being on live TV, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, while he's coming back, let me just bring a couple points up, and hopefully comes back in like 2-3 minutes, and then I'll shut myself up. But D'Amico talked about a couple different things on the press conference, and he said one of the toughest things about Joe Burrow is that you have, from a defensive point of view, you have to be exactly where you need to be. You can't screw up. You have to be able to have proper communication, because if you're off by a hair, he'll make you pay. He also specifically talked about Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson and their entire D-line. He said that they were relentless, a good motor. They play fast. They force fumbles. In fact, they have the most takeaways, actually second most takeaways, 11 in the league. So that's something that we're going to have to worry about, because if they take a couple fumbles, that could cost us the game. So Lou is going to get them prepared. I have no doubt about that. And then he also did say about Stingley, because I know people are asking, but he did say, we'll see how he progresses through the week. That's coach speaks to say, I'm not telling you anything. And so those are the three things just that we didn't talk about, but are important takeaways from the D'Amico press conference.
Yeah. And especially, I think it was Sunday's press conference where he told the guys, good win, now move on. Like, okay, get it out of your system. Like, it's time to quit celebrating because we got the Bengals next. Like, so that's the key factor of D'Amico, right? Like, yeah, it was a great game. It was a historic game, but now it's not time to shut up and shoot up. Let's get out there and knock it out. So you got something to say?
And one more thing is that something I did want to say is that even say if now that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, just say they don't play, and people will think, well, you could just double team their tight ends and stuff like that. One of the things to remember is that Joe Burrow uses 8 different receivers to get out to move the ball. So he doesn't mind if you take down 1 or 2 receivers. You can only double team only 1. And so he'll just go through someone else. So he doesn't have, if you take away 1 or 2 of his receivers, he'll find someone else. So we can't just rely on double teaming. We have to be able to tackle. Something that we have an issue with is we have a lot of missed tackles, and so we're giving up a lot of yak. And so one of the biggest things that we'll have to do, because I do think he's going to hit his tight ends, especially if Chase and Higgins aren't there, and they'll be able to get yak, and we'll have to be able to tackle properly. So that's another thing that we're going to have to be able to do.
Yeah, and in the show notes that you shared, you said that we are like 11th in QB rushes and I think 30th in sacks. I personally think it's because of never mind. We'll find out.
Yay, Tony's back.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, same thing like before, Tony. I think all right. So he'll figure that out. But yeah, so what you were saying, Matt, is we were second actually, or second or fourth in pressures.
No, I mean that's even better, right?
But 25th in sacks.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
We're good to go.
Sorry about that, fellas.
No worries. We get it. One of the moments of being live, so no worries. But Alonzo Spellman.
Yeah.
I thought Alonzo came in there and got you, man.
Dude, Alonzo was an absolute monster, and I didn't know that at the time. But we got fined, I think, over $70,000 as a team. I got fined a bunch, and I remember the next year the referees coming in to our team in the off season. Every team has these refs that come in and share the new rules. And one of the first rules they went over was, fighting, and it was me and Alonzo fighting. Like, it wasn't much of a fight. Like, if it was a real fight, Alonzo would have mopped the floor with me. But the funny thing about that whole deal, when I came to the Cowboys, 4 years later, Alonzo Spellman had struck fear in the whole league. Like, the dude was bipolar before they diagnosed bipolar. He was 6'7", 290, just an absolute monster. Like, I remember my rookie year when we went to scrimmage then. Like, it was the same year we got in this fight. Brian Cox was also on that defense. So that was like the year that, like, the program, the movie came out and all that. It was like, dude, is this really how the league is? Like, Alonzo Spellman used to wrap his arms up in tape so you couldn't look at him. Like, he was so slow, he was so big, and he was like, I'm not even going to let you look at my arms. So, you know how teams go. They go to practice against other teams during the preseason, and, then you play them that Saturday.
I remember Brian Cox like talking about my mom, like I'm just a rookie. And so it happened to coincide with Steve Walsh had been signed that year to be our starting quarterback and got big money, but he was terrible. But my point is that he got dead arm. This is 2 weeks into camp, so we went to Washington. He couldn't practice. And then our second string quarterback, Jamie Martin, who played in the league a long time, he got dead arm. He couldn't practice. So I'm all of a sudden thrust into, I'm supposed to be developing and, this second round pick who's supposed to have some potential. Now all of a sudden I'm taking on the first team reps. And I'm looking across the line of scrimmage. I got this dude who's 6'7", 290, and he breathing all crazy. He's got his arms all taped up. And then Brian Cox talking about my mind. It was just a crazy initiation into the NFL. But my point is, the time I signed with the Cowboys, maybe 4 or 5 years later, whatever it was, I've never seen grown men so scared of another grown man in my life. So during the off season, I'm there. As a quarterback, you got to be there more than everybody. So I'm there in Dallas, and I'm, meeting with the offense coordinator, meeting with the quarterback coach, and I'm, sometimes I'm there into the evening where it's just, maybe a couple of equipment guys, the coach I'm working with, and it's nobody else. So Alonzo comes in with a boombox, like I'm talking about. It's like 6 p.m. in the evening, right? Alonzo comes in with a boombox. This was way before the days of, you having your headphones on like I'm having now. This is way before those days. And you see grown men scattering in the Dallas Cowboy facility because Alonzo Spellman is in the building. Right? They're scattering. They had already given his locker to another undrafted rookie. They had the other guy's name plaque up on his locker. They went and took that name plaque off the locker and ran back into the equipment room because Alonzo Spellman was in the building. There was no player in my career that struck more fear, at least just this dude would snap at any moment. I ain't talking about fear. He was not an Aaron Donald type of guy on the field, but when you talk about off the field, this dude was an absolute monster. And my dumb, but as a rookie, tried to get in the fight with him. Fortunately, we cleared the benches. My offensive lineman had my back, and that was that situation, which could have went much worse.
BT, what about you? You got a question for Mr. Banks?
Yeah. So I heard on a previous interview that when you played baseball and then even when you got your check, you weren't really into it. And I gotta ask, when you were playing that baseball, what went through your head every day? I know you weren't really enjoying yourself. So how did you get through it?
Man, like I said, baseball for me came really easy. Practice was easy. There was barely any running. As much as I love basketball practice was hard. As much as I enjoyed thinking about playing football practice was hard. Everybody quit football. You know what I'm saying? Nobody could handle going through training camp and all that, and going through the heat. Even though in San Diego, we thought, 82 degrees was real hot. You know what I'm saying? So I gravitated to baseball because it came really easy. I didn't have to work at it very hard. And then they threw that money at me coming out of high school. My dad, my mom was on welfare when I lived with her. I moved in with my dad in the 9th grade. My dad had a small little construction business. My signing bonus was more than he saw ever in his life. And I was not a first round pick, but I got paid pretty well because I had some football scholarships to leverage. So I thought I was going to be the next King Griffey. I was like, man, I'm going to be in the minors for a day or two. Then I would be in the bigs. And that game is much harder than I thought. And I'd never been away from home. I did not enjoy professional baseball at all. I couldn't wait to get back home and start playing football again.
Gotcha.
Well, Tony, I've seen a couple articles where a couple guys wanted you to be the starter of the Texans to give David Carr, the rookie, some time to learn from you, some time to get adjusted to the speed of the game. But I guess you were told, don't even, be good at practice. Kind of take a step back in practice and give the guy confidence. How did that go? Did that upset you, or did you understand? I mean, it's the name of the game, but what went through your mind when all of that went down?
I tell you what, I think about that a lot these days. I was at a different point in my life. Like, I still viewed myself as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I was still trying to get that opportunity. Not really understanding what already basically failing at 3 of your franchise being their starting quarterback really meant. Like, there's a lot more than throwing a spiral that goes into being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Like, the fans have to really want you there. Management needs to get behind you. Like, there's a whole process that goes behind you being a starting quarterback in the NFL. And fortunately for me, David Carr was just a phenomenal kid. You know, he was a strong Christian. He already had kids. I didn't have kids. I didn't even conceive my child until my last year in the league. So I can appreciate being a father now. You know, I think I would have been a better quarterback if I'd been a father during my career, but I was so focused on being a starting quarterback. And, you know, I was a young married dude, me and the wifey traveling and all that. So my point in saying that is that I was very fortunate to be, I wouldn't say a backup quarterback in Houston, but to be a tutor to David. I just wish I would have been better, because he was coached to be like, our system at the time was trying to turn him into Peyton Manning, which he was not. So now, me being a guy that, you know, like, evaluates quarterbacks now, like, so much of it is about fit, right? Like, David was not Peyton Manning. He was not a guy you could just cripple at the line of scrimmage and, hey, you get us into the perfect play. He was more like Brett Favre. I'm telling you, Brett Favre never audibled a day in his life, right? But he played fast. He played for, you know, Holmgren and Andy Reid, guys that didn't ask him to get him into perfect plays. They were just like, make this play work. We got answers for everything. Even if it's throwing a swing route versus the blitz or a flat route versus the blitz, hey, we're going to get the ball out of your hands, and that's how we're going to operate. So Peyton Manning, that whole deal, when he came into the league, there were teams that wanted their young quarterbacks to do what Peyton did, which Peyton played really slow, right? Like, the ball wasn't getting snapped until like 2 seconds on the play clock, because he was looking at everything. He was, you know, getting you from a bad play to a good play, which, you know, gets to the point now when you see a Kansas City Chiefs offense. Like, I think about like Pat Mahomes being in the Colts offense, or even the Texans offense back then. Then you might not see Pat Mahomes the way he really is.
Right.
Because he's not playing fast. He's not playing free. You know, he's got to look at, man, is this a 3 technique? Is this a bear front? Is it, you know, what coverage is it? I got to get it. You know, you basically, as an offense coordinator, when you're in that offense, you just throw a play up on the dashboard. You know, it's like, here, this is the play, but if it's not good, get us into a better play. Which not all quarterbacks are good like that. Peyton Manning couldn't play like Pat Mahomes, right? So he needed to be in that offense, but that didn't mean that David Carr should have been in that offense. So I think, like, David is physically way more gifted than Derek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not even close. I'm just saying, David was a physical beast.
Specimen, huh? Yeah. Okay.
And I ain't talking about just how he looked. I'm talking about he had quick release. He had arm strength. He had mobility. He was smarter. But he just wasn't in an offense that really catered to that, you know, to where the ball was getting out of your hands. You know, like, he would practice one way and play a whole nother way.
Really?
Well, because when you're in practice, you don't get hit.
Right.
Nobody's touching you. You know, if they touch you, you might get cut.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a whole different ballgame. I remember when I was with the Rams my last year, and David Hill walked up to me and was like, hey, what do you think of Kurt Warner? And at the time, Kurt Warner was a scout team quarterback, and he was just throwing in circles. Like, you hold up a card, throw to this guy. Like, who couldn't do that?
Right. And now, right.
So I never saw it. Me and Kurt were really good friends, don't get me wrong, but I never saw it. At the time, I was a young quarterback. I was like, man, you got to be able to throw it over a mountain. You know, be a good quarterback like Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
So, this position we're talking about, man, is so fickle.
Like fit,
Feel,
like
how management feels about you, like all these things really go into it. And that's why I'm really appreciative of how the Texans are treating CJ. Like, D'Amico's got confidence in him. They're putting the defense behind him, where they're not giving up 30 a game, making him chase, play from behind every game. But he's also really good protecting the football. It's just a good formula.
All right. Anybody else got a question for Mr. Banks before we let him go? I think Chris.
I think
Yeah,
we've learned a lot today.
Got one more. I like this one here from one of the comments. I'm put this up for you.
I got you.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Who was your favorite organization to play for, Mr. Banks?
Statistically, my best years were with the Ravens, but the Texans were my favorite franchise. Like, I was known at the time before I went to the Texans as being, I don't know, maybe I didn't believe this, but maybe not the greatest teammate. That I was, about self, and I wanted to throw the ball far. Everything was down the field. So I really enjoyed my time with the Texans, even though that was my only time in my career where I wasn't a starter. Like, I remember telling these guys, hey, well, you got two phones. You're gonna get caught up. I remember telling these young guys, like, hey, they used to be like, hey, Tom, like, at the time I was a happily married guy. Like, Tom, how you staying, happily married? I'm like, man, I go home. I take my ass home.
Right.
So I remember having these conversations with the young guys. I was an old guy at the time. My last 4 years were with the Texans, and I remember those times fondly. I just talked to one of my friends, Moran Norris, who lives still in Houston, and got a daughter playing volleyball, and I remember, telling some of these guys, like, hey, man, just go home, man. Like, have a good time, but go home. Don't stay out till 4 in the morning. Like, just go home. Like, have a good time and go home. Get rid of, not Moran necessarily, but get rid of the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how many times I saw him. I was like, hey, Tony, you told me to get rid of that phone, and I left it in the other car, and the wife drove it to, drove the kid out of school. And, it's just bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the guys, like, what people don't understand in the NFL, like there's a strong, like, Christian, unit. We have Bible study. We really try to do things the right way. Now it's 50 to 60 guys on the team, so it's not everybody, but we really try to be good family men, and there's obviously influences out there that you guys, I'm sure, know of that can make it hard, but we really try to be good dudes, and that's, when I look back in my career, like, I appreciate when I got to help guys with the Texans, like, hey, keep the families together, it's just some of this stuff ain't worth it, so I appreciate those times.
All right. Well, Mr. Banks, we appreciate you coming on. It's such an honor, but before we let you go, I do got to ask you, you won a Super Bowl championship with the Ravens. Was that defense that year the best defense of all time? Because in my opinion, it's hands down the best. Like, nobody can stop him. Ray Lewis is just a beast. But am I right or am I wrong, Mr. Banks? In your opinion, was that the best?
We won the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer throwing like 12 times a game. So I'll tell you what, when that whole change was made between me and Trent Dilfer, regardless of injury, whatever, like, they let me throw it 30, 35 times a game. When we changed, like I tell people all the time, like, we would not have won the Super Bowl that year, I don't think, if I would have remained a starting quarterback. Even though I had some monster games that year, early in the year, because Trent was okay with audibling from a run to another run. Like, I was never that way. Like, I was never going to check to a run. Like, I thought, as a quarterback, if you check to a run, you're a bum. Like I did not believe in that. Like I get paid to throw the rock. Like if there's a chance to check out or something, I'm checking to a pass. It's never going to be a run. So we would have struggled that way because I would have always thought I knew better. Trent was like, hey, I don't know better. I'm going to hand the ball off. We're going to hand it to Jamal Lewis, and we're going to, the defense is going to keep us in it. I didn't care about the defense when I was the starter for that team. I mean, I love Ray. Ray hung out a lot, but I was just not that quarterback. I was not going to run the ball. I remember my last game starting with the Ravens. Our game plan was just tell Tony the personnel. That was our game plan. He will get us into the right play. That was my last game starting as a Raven. And, I had a lot of success audibly when I was there, but that was not one of those days. And the rest is history, man. We ran the ball down people's throat and played great defense. And I tell people this. When people ask me about Ray Lewis, even at the time, like I've never been a rah-rah guy. I don't believe like that's something that grown men need to, you need a guy to give you a speech and, Ray needs to have some encouraging words for you to play well. I've never been that guy. I tell you what, Ray was an inspiring dude, man. We had maybe 9 players on that defense that were Pro Bowl caliber. And when he didn't practice, we used to shred that freaking defense. But when Ray practiced, like I remember him and Marvin Lewis, it was like they were father and son. You would hear Marvin on the sideline checking the stuff, and there was no earphones in the defenders' helmets at the time. Like it was only quarterbacks, right? Like so Ray couldn't hear what the hell Marvin was talking about on the sideline, but it just seemed like they were in sync. You would hear Marvin say something, then Ray would check to it, and then the defense would succeed. It was amazing, man. I've never seen anything like it. And also, like Ray studied like a quarterback. Like normally on a franchise, it's the quarterback, maybe a few offensive linemen that stay later because that's the complicated stuff normally. Protections and how we going, what we gonna do against these blitzes, like what's our calls gonna be, all that kind of stuff. Ray used to make those dudes like stay and watch them. And when Ray said, "Hey, this what we doing," Ray was the young dude on that defense. When Ray said, "This what we doing," I guarantee you those dudes stayed. And we talking about Pro Bowls, like 10-year vets at the time. Me and Ray got drafted the same year, so at the time we in our 4th and 5th year. But when that dude spoke, them old dudes was like, okay, Ray wants to see, we got to stay, And it was, it showed on game day.
Well, Mr. Banks, great stuff. Thank you again for coming on. Why don't you tell all of our listeners and fans where we can find you on social media and what you got cooking, that way we can support you?
Oh, man, I'm only on Instagram. What is it, Tony Banks QB 12 or something like that. But, I'm not a big social media guy, but you see when you get me on here, you can't shut me up. So
hey, we love it. We love it. So, yeah, we're gonna have to do this again. We greatly appreciate it. So, thank you for coming on. VT, where can we find you at?
You can find me at Brown Chubby Bear on Facebook, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram. Typically in a space about 3 to 4 times a week. So find me and we'll talk some Texans.
And Mr. Crenshaw.
You can find me at Fifth or Crenshaw everywhere. That's about it.
And you can find me on A1 Day 1 Texans. I got a couple articles written for the Fanbow Sports Network, so make sure you check that out. And, of course, all you got to say to check us out podcast-wise is, hey, Siri, play the greatest Texans podcast, and it'll pop up every streaming platform. So make sure you check us out. And, guys, till then, have a great night, and we'll see you Sunday for the recap of the Bengals game. Good night.
This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We not